Happy International Flashing Awareness Day, everybody out there in the building world. And for homeowners who are watching, to get a little education on things you want to watch out for when you're building a new house or redetailing an old house. So we're going to talk about some flashing details on this ADU that we are building right now. We're getting some brick installed right now, so we've got a little bit extra flashing detail on top of the brick. But as you can see, the whole building is zip system. So you've got your zip sheathing, which is all taped and sealed with their flashing tape, and then we've got the zip rain screen on top. All of our penetrations, as you can see, this is kind of our dirty wall on the back side of the alley. All of our penetrations are completely sealed with the OD vertical wall flash, which is completely rubber gasketed around, and used a big stretch behind it, Sasco's big stretch caulking behind the OD flashing, and then that is zip taped to the zip sheathing, and then the rain screen over the top of that. All of our penetrations are individually sealed and taped. Some of our penetrations go through a PVC pipe so we can get a clean seal around that. And then as we get down to the bottom, we've got 4 courses of brick that have started to go on to the building yesterday, and we're going to continue to go up from there. So we've come in and put our metal cap on the top of the brick. This was custom made flashing that fits perfectly on top of the brick and is then zip taped to the wall. All of our seams and our overlaps are sealed underneath before they go down with Sasco's Lexel, and then we use some stretch tape on those seams to seal those seams as well. And then Sega's fen trim on the corners to kind of give a little bit of protection around there where you got the sharp edges from the flashing, to make sure that those don't get beat up when the brick guys are coming through here. And then we will install weeps at the bottom of this, and we'll have air flow behind the cavity. With obviously the zip screen will keep that off of the sheeting, so there'll be an airflow and a drainage plane behind the rain screen. So when water gets behind the rain screen onto your sheething, it has a way to come down and out the wall here. So it'll drain down the green behind this mesh, hit the top of your metal flashing, hit this, and kick out of the building. Everything else is sealed all the way down from there. And anything on the outside of the rain screen, this is waterproof as well. So if water gets into this layer, it will still run down on the top of it because we've got a 1-inch air gap for our brick. So this all has to be very well thought out and planned before you start executing details like putting brick on. You got to have your flashing made, unless you're making it yourself and you got a break, you can do it on site. You got to have all those materials. You got to have your tapes, you got to have your sealants. And I think that's one of the most important things about flashing details that get missed, is that not being on the job site as all these things are going into place. So you have to be there for the steps to be sequenced correctly. First of all, your penetrations should be put into your building and air and water sealed before your cladding goes on, regardless of what type of cladding you put on. A lot of people will put your siding right onto the building and then cut your penetrations in, and there's no way to air seal that inner layer. You think about, layers of a cake or any types of layers, you have to do everything in sequence to have that right. And you got to be prepared. Either you got to order those materials in, or the way that I like to do it is I keep a stock of materials in the van. And really, I think that could be one of the most important things, is having the materials with you all times, because we try to plan as best as possible, but there's 1,000 components that go into building a home, and you're going to miss a detail or not think it through in sequence right sometimes. And if you don't have the material with you and you have your trades working hard to get the materials put in, whatever the install layer that you're on, and you're trying to stay ahead of them or beat them to getting your penetration sealed in or anything like that, or you've got to try to order material in that's not available locally, you're going to run into some issues. So I always try to keep, my liquid flashing materials, all of my tapes. I mean, I've got 2 drawers in my van that just have high performance tapes. Most of it is the zip tape because we use a lot of zip tape. But you also, I've got all of the SIA products that I use on a regular basis, and I keep those in there, interior products and exterior products. And having the ability to have that flashing material there allows you to, solve problems if you come into something in the field that needs to be addressed right away, but you don't want to stop the trades from moving forward. And I think what happens a lot of times is, as a builder, if you're somewhere else and something gets buried and you never know that it happens, that's where issues can happen. So being very aware of how you've got to be ahead of that trade, or once again, if you miss that detail and you catch it before, you have to be on site and present and kind of thinking these things through and be ahead of the game. But once again, sometimes things happen and you miss it, and you gotta act quickly and work on the fly. And if you don't have the materials in your vehicle, you're gonna have issues, and that's where we run into flashing problems, because things move forward and then it gets buried. But water doesn't care if it's buried. If there's an opening, it's going to get into it. So along with the tapes, I have drawers full of sealants, and I use all of Sashko's sealant. So I've got everything from the Lexel that I use from the foundation throughout the whole building and all the way through the roof, and a lot of big stretch material and whatnot. And then I carry a lot of the Proseco flashing materials and some Zip liquid flash in the van, just to make sure that I've got the material there ready to go. So when we need it on site, it happened yesterday, I used some Proseco joint and seam filler, and I had it, and it was perfect. So I think that's a good lesson. Be ready, be prepared, have all your materials lock, stock, and loaded, ready to deploy when needed. Anyhow, that's enough talk on that. Happy International Flashing Awareness Day. Let's go ahead and do a quick walkthrough and look at some of the flashing details on the brick ledge here, and maybe check out some of the other details on the building as we walk around. And flash it right, make it tight, keep the water out, just pay attention to the details, slow down, take your time, think things through, and you'll do a great job keeping the water out. As you can see, we've got our metal cap on that brick. Which, like I said, is custom. So if you look down the line there, it just fits perfectly on the top of that brick. And you can see our SIA tape on the corners there, our stretch tape sealing those corners, or the seams, excuse me. And underneath it, we've got Lexel's, Sashko's Lexel, and obviously zip tape to the wall. Here's where I used Proseco's Argard joint and seam filler, which is almost cured enough. We're going to flash that sill for this big door going in, but we wanted to be ahead of the brick guys. More fen trim, some fen trim underneath that door. And you can see how we seal our penetrations. This has nothing to do with flashing, but an original horse tie that was on the back of the original carriage house, which ended up being a garage for most of its life, that we took down to put this building in, and salvaged the brick right here from that garage, and then I've purchased a whole bunch more. This back wall's a fire rated wall. It's got our dense glass on here. So dense glass on top of our zip sheeting, which is all taped. And then we rolled Proseco's Argard Cat 5 over the top of that dense glass. And then everything's taped. See another outlet, all taped. Here's our exterior shower through a pipe. That pipe will be hidden into the brick. We'll be cutting that flush, mounting that shower right to the brick with slope on it. Here's another penetration here. Another one here, that's for our mini split. And our line set for our mini split. And then we'll come back with the Airex Titan over the top of that, on top of the brick. That'll be a nice detail that will seal it. And if you look up here, some more penetration sealed. And then we got some all thread through the building structure for our storm pole electrical connection. We got a bunch of all thread through into the LVL over here on this side, all sealed with Sashco's Lexel over that EPDM, and that's for our metal spiral staircase to bolt onto. So the brick will go all around that, so we'll have a nice clean finish, and then be able to just slide that stair over the top of it, cut those bolts off. Yep, we're keeping water out of this building, that's for sure. Again, happy International Flashing Awareness Day. Pay attention to the flashing details. It's really, really, really important.